Across Oregon and nationally, schools and districts are struggling with persistent achievement gaps between students of color and their white classmates. In addressing the problem, some districts are scrutinizing their discipline policies and practices. They're asking, are Black, Latino, and American Indian students being referred for discipline more often than their white peers? Are students of color suspended or expelled more frequently and for different reasons? If so, what does that mean in lost instructional time? And perhaps most importantly, what can we do about it? Finding answers to those questions is a goal of the Oregon Leadership Network Research Alliance. The OLN Alliance represents a partnership between school district leaders and REL Northwest researchers.
Research Alliance is really a group of people, a group of stakeholders who have a common interest and come together around that common interest. So in the case of our alliance, the common interest is equity and equity in education, and particularly for this group of people, it's around discipline disproportionality.
The alliance grew out of the district's desire to look more closely at their data to better understand the issue. A preliminary analysis conducted by REL Northwest in 2011 brought the topic of disciplinary practices into sharp focus. The report looked at differences across racial and ethnic lines in how and why students were referred for discipline in 4 Oregon school districts. One of those districts was Beaverton, which is deeply involved in the Alliance work.
When I was here in the early 90s, the Hispanic population was approximately 6 to 7%, and now it's about 25–26%. Our ethnicity is just shy of 50%, so we're almost a minority-majority district. That surprises many people. We have over 93 languages spoken in the district. We have some schools that have 6% poverty and some at 90. Even some of our low-poverty schools often have 14 to 20 languages spoken. Some of our high-poverty schools may have 3 or 4 languages spoken. We have the highest number of homeless youth of anywhere in the state.
We as a district submitted a set of data, huge mega file, I'm sure, and so it was a research data analysis of our data, Beaverton, Hillsborough, Forest Grove, and Tigard-Tualatin, so 4 pretty large school districts, and really looking at patterns of discipline, really looking at race, ethnicity, types of consequences, reasons for discipline referrals.
I don't think they were necessarily surprised by what the findings were. They expected that there was going to be an issue. They already knew that there was an issue, but they finally had something concrete in their hands to show to other people to say that this is an issue. And they also saw maybe some subtle things that they didn't know because we were able to cut the data in so many different ways, you know, not just look at an overall picture of the data say this, but really say, and what does that mean for instructional days lost for these students? That wasn't something they'd looked at before. Or what does this mean, not just for African American students versus Hispanic students, but how does that break out in the 12th grade versus the 8th grade? For example, we saw a real spike in the disproportionality and the amount of discipline referrals in 8th grade.
The problem was definitely identified. And now that we knew what the problem was, the next phase of the Research Alliance was REL folks to conduct a lit review to see what research is saying about reducing disparities in student discipline in the classroom.
REL Northwest researchers looked at nearly 9,000 articles on discipline. They found a dozen that specifically addressed the issues OLN Alliance members were grappling with. Members discussed the findings, looking at what practices they could take back to their districts. For Sho Shigeoka, learning what the research says had an immediate impact.
So I brought that back and I shared that with our student supervisors who are directly responsible for student discipline at our buildings. And I had them really think about, so what are ways in which these practices are evident in your building? And what are some of the things you might need to do differently so you can begin to embed these practices? One example was really around engaging family and community. And one student supervisor said, we've never even thought about inviting parents to talk about discipline. So this person is going to conduct a focus group at his school, inviting parents about, so what's discipline about? What do you think is fair? What do you think the purpose of discipline is? What can we do to keep your kids in the classroom?
Tricia Clair, another Alliance member, sees the Alliance as providing both resources and a safe place for difficult conversations.
We did not collectively, as an administrative group or as a teacher group, have the ability or the skill or the knowledge to be able to talk about race. It's hard work, and the Alliance allows us to do the work in a way that we couldn't do on our own. The ability of the Alliance to coalesce information from so many different resources and bring it to us so that we can have in a short period of time, in an afternoon or in a day, look at a body of research and the results in a way we could never do on our own. It would take us years. We would lose everyone along the way.
We have an abundance of data in terms of reporting, but most of it is not being gathered to inform practice. Most of it is being gathered to meet state and federal reporting requirements. And so part of what the work of this alliance will be is to identify common data that we can gather across alliances, across the district members in a way that's meaningful.
I think there's a lot of power in the Research Alliance model, but it doesn't happen overnight, and it does take a lot of time and effort to bring people together and, again, to really decide together what is the common problem of practice. And you really need an alliance team that can both do the technical aspect of the work, but also have an open mind to really listen to the participants and let the participants lead the agenda. And that's a balance that takes time and energy, but is completely worthwhile.
The advantage of being part of a research alliance is huge. It is critical, I believe, that you have multiple perspectives when you look at an issue. Our district demographic is changing, and as our staff is not changing at the same rate of our demographic, we have to look beyond. We have to look to our neighbor districts. We have to look at the districts that have like data, and then compare the demographic. We just would not be able to have the multiple perspective without engaging in a task force alliance for this work.
This is exactly, I think, how research should be in terms of bridging that gap between researchers and practitioners. This is the model of now and of the future, and I think we're learning a lot as REL Northwest about how to bridge that gap and how to make sure that the research we're conducting is hand in hand with the practitioners and not just handed over in a nicely packaged report, but actually brought to them in a responsible way, in a responsive way, and in a way that ensures that research is used in practice and doesn't just sit on a shelf.
The impact this work is going to have on our district, I think, is going to be really significant. It feels like we collectively as a district are at a place where we can really look at discipline from different perspectives, that it's not just about punishment. It's not just about excluding kids from the process of learning. So we have been able to really change the language around, so what is it about student behaviors? And what is it about adult behaviors that really contribute to the problem of disparities in student discipline?
Alliance members have set an ambitious goal. They want to reduce discipline referrals for students of color. They also want to reduce suspensions and expulsions overall, using the tools of discipline not just punitively, but in ways that benefit students. Doing so gets at the heart of providing equitable educational opportunities for all students.
You hear this long conversation about all children should be successful, and somehow or another all became the kids I like, the kids that are easy to teach. All has a definition in the dictionary, and it means each and every one. So that's our responsibility, and I think OLN is taking that seriously. And that's one of the things the Alliance is doing. This is about each and every child that crosses the schoolhouse door.